Welcome back into the channel. My name is Chaz. My wife Tristan and I have actually been full-time sellers on platforms like Amazon, Walmart, and eBay since 2015. We've had a tremendous focus on the eBay platform over these last 3 months, and we've been documenting this here on the channel if you haven't checked out our other videos. So in today's video, I'm going to do something I haven't done before, which is dive into our eBay account and document the entire month. And I'm going to showcase the top 25 sales that we had to produce $14,000 in sales for us in January. So I'm going to keep this very laid back, minimal editing. I want to show you guys the raw behind the scenes that goes on in this account. So diving right into it, here you can see the report for January 1st through January 31st. 14,090. This was roughly 14.2, but we've had a few returns since the time that I'm actually recording this. So 14K in sales. Of course, that's not what we take home. We actually took back into our bank account, the deposits was $8,377. This means that after our fees, our shipping costs, the shipping labels themselves, promoted listings, we do between 5 and 7% on promoted listings. After all the fees and different things are taken out, we saw over $8,000 get deposited back into our bank account. Then we can deduct the amount that we spent on the product themselves, called the cost of goods or the buy cost. Roughly for everything that did sell, which is 278 units, we had roughly about $2,000 of buy costs involved. So we were able to net about $6,000 in January, which for us is phenomenal. We've never had a focus on this eBay account like we have over these last 3 months, and it's been great. And I know the number one question people are going to ask is, what type of products are you listing? Number two is, how often are you listing? Right off the gate, we're listing used clothing, shoes, electronics, and I showcase a ton of different styles of products that we are selling. So you guys are going to see the top 25 sales, which is a big variety of a lot of different stuff. And then as far as how many listings that we do, I have been on a spree over the last 60 days of a minimum of 25 listings per day. I had a spree of about 3 weeks where I was doing 50 per day. That's because I did recently bring on a virtual assistant team. I have 2 different virtual assistants, and we'll dive into a whole nother episode about that setup, but I've been able to list at least 50 a day for the last 3 weeks. I've now since tapered that back to a nice 25. I'm trying to find that sweet spot for us. So let's dive in and show you guys the top 25 sales that were able to produce this 14K. Number one, and my whole goal with doing this is to show you guys different brands that we sell, maybe things that you've never heard of, maybe categories you've never even looked into, such as electronics or lenses or cameras. We're going to dive into all the different things that we do. I always preface with my videos with this, by the way. I'm not an expert in any one thing. I'm not an expert in Amazon. I'm not an expert in eBay. I'm not an expert in Walmart. I'm not an expert in any one category, but I'm dangerous enough to know how to keep myself out of a job. And we've been doing this full time for about 9 years at the time of this video. So take that as you will. Take whatever advice that I can give and craft it and mold it and test it out and make it your own. But this is what we do full time. So number one item that we have here, and I'm actually grouping 3 listings together. These 3 I'm going to cover. I'm going to group these together as one item because I actually bought this off Facebook Marketplace as one bundle. So I spent $200 for all 3 of these pieces. It came with the bag. This right here is called a kit lens. This is just a typical lens that most cameras will come with. It came with 2 extra batteries, which is always a big bonus in the camera world. This lens by itself is one of the reasons I got this bundle for $200, because I knew that I can sell this by itself for at least $100, and you guys can see here went for $150. This body was destroyed. Look at this. It's all cosmetic stuff. It's just the rubber gripping was absolutely destroyed. Whoever knows what they're doing as far as repairs go can grab this and repair it, make it look amazing. But this model right here is a Samsung NX1. So add that to your BOLO list if you're not looking out for this. You can actually search Samsung NX1 in Facebook Marketplace, OfferUp, Craigslist, and you can go and hopefully find some deals like this. So I bought this bundle, and he was able to do it cheap for $200 because he knew that this was demolished on the handle. Fully tested everything. I have obviously running a YouTube channel. We learned about camera gear, so I know how to test these up and down. Everything worked out great. It was just that cosmetic flaw. on there, but the lens, the sensor, everything was great. Now, originally, I actually listed this as a bundle by itself. I bought it for $200 as a bundle. I listed that bundle up, and I had it marked down as far as, I think, $500 at one point. I dropped down to $500. Had a few watchers, but no takers. So then I thought, all right, let me try to debundle this. I'm going to sell just the body, which is this, and it came with the battery and the charger behind here. Sold the body for $325. Win. Then I'm like, all right, let's list up the actual lens that it came with as a secondary lens. That went for $150. This sold at full price, by the way. Anytime that I took an offer, I'll let you guys know. But this sold at full price. And one other quick thing too is we do $5.99 for most of our shipping. That's across the board, unless they are heavier items. Like recently we sold Harley parts and different things like that. We charge more for those items, but for the most part, we're trying to absorb as much of the shipping cost as we can without paying the full price. So instead of offering either free shipping or the buyer pays calculated shipping, we kind of met in the middle at $5.99, and it's been working out great for us. And that's going to be on most of these listings. So when you hear me say this sold for, $75, that's also going to be in addition to that $12.99 shipping we did on this one. So that's just an example of, if you've never looked into electronics or camera gear specifically, is what a really great way to do with this is to buy the bundle and then part it out one by one. And then next up, we have another random category that I love to play in, which is graded sealed video games. I've been dabbling in this category since 2019. Before the COVID pop happened, I paid attention to the keywords involving sealed retro video games, Pokemon, different things like that. In 2019, I started buying these up. I actually got this off Facebook Marketplace, and believe it or not, this was actually in the original case pack, which came with 6 for these. A lot of video games, especially these older ones, they came in a case pack of 6 units. So there was actually 6 of these inside of a box that was sealed. I got 2 cases of those. I kept 1 case sealed. Later on, I think it was last year, I ended up selling that whole case for $700, which was nuts, because the whole case I only spent $120 on. I spent $20 per game. So that 120 case went for $700 as the case itself. And then the other case I opened up myself. I sent all 6 of these in for grading, which is done by this company, Wada. And from there, I was able to go and sell off a lot of the games during the big COVID pop. And I kept this as just the last one that was a straggler, went for $229.95. And then $5.99 shipping. The grading itself cost $97. So this one I did not individually make too much on. I spent about $120 all in. Sold for $200, so I didn't make much actual profit on this one. But during the COVID spike, I was selling these for between $400 and $500. So this one is kind of just what's left. I've already made plenty of profit on those other 5 units I did sell. Next up, I've been talking about 2 specific items my entire career as a reseller here, is calculators and toner. I have still to this day been keeping an eye on Facebook Marketplace specifically for toner, calculators, all that good stuff. And here's another example of one that I picked up for $60 and it sold for $210. This was on Facebook Marketplace, like 10 minutes down the road from me. So if you're not already, pay attention. Now, can it be any toner? No, it's like any other product. There's different styles, different models. In this case, we all have a model number. So you just type in HP 410A, look at your sold comps, and then go do your research after that as far as how cheap you can go find it. Not every toner is treated the same, that's for sure. Next up, I was not familiar with this brand. It's called Baffin. They make heavy duty. I'm talking, these things are thick, they're heavy. Heavy duty snow boots. This was actually from a client that we have on consignment. So we do a 50-50 split, and these are called Baffin. I had never heard of this brand until this client came on board and started sending us some of this stuff. and it's an amazing brand. A lot of the boots we sell between 125 and 160 range. This one was a more popular size of a size 11, so we were able to get a few more bucks out of that, and they also have different styles that can go for more as well. That's an example of something that is a little bit heavier, where we didn't charge $5.99 shipping, we charged $9.99. Since the time of doing this flip, we've actually upped that to $12.99 because these big heavy things, I mean, they're big. So they do cost a little bit to ship. But that's an example of a brand. If you're not paying attention to that already, add that to your BOLO list. And that's the whole goal of doing these videos now for you guys. And I'll be doing these at least once a month to recap the whole month. If you enjoy this style of content, do me a big favor, comment below. Let me know if you want more of this behind the scenes of actual sales that are happening. The problem that we see with YouTube and Instagram, social media in general, is a lot of people will show you different things that sell for crazy prices, and they're not their actual sales. They are just looking at sold comps on the computer, which is fine. I like to show you guys the actual sales that we have personally made. This one, very, very happy with this one, because for those of you that follow this channel, you would know that I picked this up in Orlando. There's a whole vlog I did on the channel. If you're not familiar, go to our channel, look up the Orlando vlog that I did, where it's part of a series where I travel to other cities and other states, and I go and accumulate as much inventory as I can. I ship it back here to the house, and then I photo and list it from there. I paid $36 for this one. And this one was unique because I actually had the night, basically the night of my flight back home, he messaged me back. We couldn't make a time work because I was just too cut on my, cutting it close to my time. So I don't recommend you guys do this. And I said this in that vlog. I don't recommend you do this, but it was only a $30 gamble, so I did it anyways. I said, hey, if I give you a shipping label and Venmo you, is there any chance you can just throw this in a box and ship it to me? He's like, sure. So with the shipping label and my cost for this was $36. It did make it here. I didn't get scammed. knock on wood here. And I was able to list that up and sell it for $180. So that was pretty sweet. But it's just a dictionary. It's a translator. You guys can see here, multilingual phrase bank is what that's called. So different keywords that you guys can use there. But it's just a basic electronic dictionary. So keep an eye on this kind of stuff, because I used to pass this all the time when it came to like old voice recorders, these Casio, these dictionaries. I passed on this kind of stuff for years. And then one day I looked it up, I'm like, whoa, some of these models can sell for a lot of money. So that's an example of a pretty sweet flip that we did have. Next up, we have again, another thing I've been preaching for years, VCRs. This one was nothing crazy. This was an open box, meaning that it was new inside, but the seal had been cut up here. So I wasn't going to list that as new because based on the standards, it's not. You will not want to list anything as new in something that's in a box like this unless it is actually factory sealed. Just a little pro tip. So because it was open, listed as open box, I paid, I believe, $40 for this one off Facebook Marketplace and sold it for $170. This one we did $12.99 shipping on as well. So VCRs, especially if you get the DVD combos, if you guys don't know this already, VCR DVD combos are some of the best ones you can get, especially if they're going to be some of the better brands like Toshiba and Sony, different things like this. These Emerson ones, they fetch a few bucks, and it took probably 6 weeks to sell. And that was after I listed, I started at $250, which was high. I knew that. If it had been sealed, maybe could have got $250, but because it was open box, dropped the price down to $170, and somebody bought it pretty much that night. Next, I did a Harley buyout recently, which was a part of a ton of stuff. I basically have all kinds of different parts of a bike except for an engine. So I was able to get this out of somebody's shop. It filled up our entire SUV of seats. This was not just the only seat that I got. I got about 6 different seats of different kinds. I have a fuel tank, and I sold the fender. I also have a fender. I sold a fender for $225. You guys will see that coming up because that just sold recently. but all kinds of cool stuff. It came out to $8 per unit is what I paid for all this different Harley stuff across the board. So $199 is what I had it listed for, plus $20 shipping. The nice part with this is it already had its own little custom box, so it was very easy just to slap a label on that and ship it out. And I actually took an offer for, I believe it was $160. I did not get full price out of that, but I took a $160 offer, which is more than fair. Next, we have an example of my death pile paying off. Sometimes when you have death piles, your things go up in value just because it's supply and demand. The supply dwindles down after year over year, and so that demand goes up. And this is an example of a pair of shoes I bought out of Ross, I don't even know, 3 years ago or something like that. I think we spent $29.99, somewhere in that range. I spent about $30, and at the time I remember thinking I can sell these for 65 or 70. And then of course they went into a death pile. We closed down a warehouse, it got put into a storage unit, and now we're working through that storage unit. Listed these up, and the going rate was between 150 and 200. I came in 130. These sold within 2 days, full asking price, which is pretty sweet. Next up, I had never been able to find this brand anywhere as far as I've been sourcing. So Double RL, which is like top of the line Ralph Lauren stuff. This cotton knit, kind of this Henley setup, and it was just a super nice shirt. It was new without tags. I did technically get this off Facebook Marketplace. It was based on a contact that I've had that I buy Flint and Tinder stuff from now. Again, Facebook Marketplace is how this whole relationship started. Long story short, he gets a hold of a lot of great pieces, and so now we have that contact that he'll hit us up every couple of weeks and be like, hey, I got these in stock. Are you interested, etc. This is one of those units. Believe it or not, I actually got this for $40. So that was a pretty sweet deal. Realistically, I think I priced this up closer to the $200 mark, which is what some of the sold comps showed. But I have no problem at a $40 cost dropping that price. I get to be the cheapest one on the market, which gives the buyer a great deal. And we're able to get full asking price at $150 for that guy. Next up, Go Ruck. If you're not familiar, so Go Ruck is a fitness kind of outdoorsy sports brand, and they do these weight plate carriers. So if you guys know weighted vest, that's what this would be. So this guy, again, that same contact off Facebook Marketplace, he had this and it was brand new and wanted $20 for it. So I was like, cool, I'll take it. $20 and drop that down to $93. And we actually had an $80 offer come in. So that was another example of just a quick and easy flip. And even though it is a weighted vest, it's got no plates in it. So it was very lightweight, lighter than a backpack, and it was not very big. It was easy to ship out. Bought for 20, sold for 80. Ross taking it for the win again. Here's a little pro tip. I've been doing Ross for many, many years. A lot of you from the channel here, if you're following along, you've been here for years, you probably found me because of one of my Ross videos that took off, got over 1 million views on showing you guys how to look up style codes within Ross. We did that video, geez. Is that 8 years ago, 7 years ago, something like that? It's crazy how long ago that was. But point being, Ross athletic shoes, specifically the track style shoes, which is what these guys were. There's all kinds of ones that go from the typical spikes, which is what these are going to be. You have ones that are based on spikes. You have ones for shot put and discus that have a very flat, smooth, rubbery bottom. A lot of these shoes go for some good money. This was an example of $19.99 buy cost. Usually the Ross track shoes, depending on your region, but most of the time they're going to be about $20. So $19.99 was the cost, and these were listed up and got full price at $89.95. So I was very, very happy with that one. Next up, we have Harley boots. Again, the exact same Harley buyout that I just talked about. $8 across the board is what my per item cost was. So these were $8. These were very, very cool. I've never seen boots like this as far as Harley goes, but they have these literally Phillips head screwed in little steel toe action going on. So that was pretty cool. But $85 is what we got out of those ones. Next up, I had not seen this brand here, and I'm based in Texas, by the way, if I didn't mention that earlier. So based here in Texas, we see a lot of different brands that maybe you don't find in your area. I see tons of other YouTubers show all these great brands that I've never found in my stores. So a lot of these brands might be based on just your region, and you're going to find completely different stuff than I have access to. But this one, Dovetail, I've never heard of, never found down here before. And this was in a thrift store for $3. So, of course, anytime you learn the game of clothing, it's more so learning the tags that are not good. And that's how you get quick at swiping through these racks, is you can immediately determine what's not good, what's not good. And then when you find something that's new that you haven't seen before, or it's a very high quality tag, that's where it cues you to look that up. I'm very glad I looked this one up because I listed up for $99 and took an $80 offer. This was listed for roughly 2 weeks. Next up, Facebook Marketplace. If you guys are seeing a trend here, I've been crushing on Facebook Marketplace. I have been preaching this for years. So hopefully a few of you are listening and scouring your own Facebook Marketplace as well. Got these as part of a lot. There were 15 dolls total of these Shadow High dolls. There was a combination of Shadow High, the other half were Rainbow High, and then a couple of the Vampire series. But these Shadow High ones, these went for $7.50 each, so I paid $15 for both of these. Listed these up, and a lot of them I did in pairs like this. This was one of the higher ones. A lot of them sold between $50 and $50, or $50 and $55. This one went for $70 plus $5.99 shipping, so this was a great flip from $15 into $70 plus. Of course, we've got some Lululemon in here. This was part of the Oklahoma City vlog. If you guys saw the episode where I went to Oklahoma City, went to garage sales, picked out some crazy $2,000 Levi's jeans. That's a whole nother episode. So if you guys go check that out, this was part of the garage sale that I showed up at, and she had tons of North Face, tons of Carhartt, tons of Lululemon stuff. This was one of those. My cost was high. She was not negotiating much, but I was able to get her down to $10 per piece. So I was able to cherry pick out some pretty great pieces like this. I wanted to keep this so bad because of how soft it was. I genuinely, I could have been a spokesperson for how great this product was, but it was a little bit too big. So I listed it up. I believe I listed this for $90. Yes, you guys can see here, listed for $90. I've been running 15% off sales on the weekends, which has been working out great for us. So that actually did sell at full price at $76. Next up, new to me brand, which is Civilian. This is a traditional Irish grandfather linen shirt. This was a unique one. Found this in Goodwill, and this was, you guys can see my SKU system. I'm trying to get better at putting all the information in the SKU. So I have my SKU number, the supplier, which is Goodwill for GW, and then $5.99 was my buy cost. That way, when I start doing these videos for you, I can give you true, honest numbers right there. So $5.99, Civilian, obviously swiping through. Very unique tag. You can tell right off the font that it was going to be an Irish something, and it was new with tags, which was even better. The fact that we've got linen in big lettering right there. So just a overall great pickup. It had the one stain, and that was pretty much all there was to it. Listed up $42.95 and got full asking price. That took roughly 2 weeks, 2 to 3 weeks. Next up, if you guys don't know, everyone should by now, Vuori is a crazy good athletic brand. They're basically competing with Lululemon on the quality of their stuff. This one we got out of, wasn't Goodwill. This would have been a yard sale. So we did another yard sale video, if you guys go back to our channel a few episodes ago, where we pulled, this was the only Vuori piece, but Icebreaker was the main brand that we pulled out. We pulled out like 50 pieces of Icebreaker. We pulled out this Vuori for between $2 and $3 each. Hoodies would have been $3, so we paid $3 for this one. Full asking price, $60 is what we're able to get out of that. And then a nice pair of Hokas. My wife Trista actually pulled these out of Goodwill, which is 5 minutes down the road from us, which is actually not a great location that we rarely find stuff at, but she goes there often, just, you know, because she loves thrifting and to kill some time. But she pulled these out for, I think, $6.99 is what the cost was on those. They were cheap. They were $7-8, and we got full asking price at $55.21. That was after running our weekend 15% off. This is an example of Walmart clearance. So I actually bought these to sell back on Walmart.com on our Walmart account, but I found out I was restricted in Oral-B. So I listed them up on eBay just to liquidate. I got these at $4 each, and I found out that they were actually selling for about $20 each. So listed these at $22.95, sold a few of them that way. I got about 10 of them to start. Sold a few of them at $22.95, and then no movement happened for a week. So I dropped the price based on this 15% off sale, and I was able to move a few more. And then I relisted the last 5. You guys can see right here, 5 sold. I was able to relist the last 5. 2 people bought singles at $20 each, still great profit. And then 1 person bought out the last 3. They bought all 3 of them. So I was able to do $60. And I was able to get away with the $5.99 shipping on those 3 units, and it only cost me about $6 to ship all 3 of those. So made a pretty good profit on those guys. And hopefully you guys can see this is an example of what an everything seller is like. We have sold Harley parts. I'm showing you guys. We sold Harley parts. We sold toothbrush head replacements. We've sold clothing. We've sold shoes. It's a little bit of everything. Electronics, camera gear. This was a great pickup. I paid $5. Yes, up here, $5. Facebook Marketplace. This was part of a larger buyout that I went and did where it was on Facebook Marketplace for a few vintage pieces, and I showed up. What's the number one question that we've been talking about for years where you always need to ask this one question? Do you have any more XYZ? So in this case, I went and picked up a Pendleton piece. I'm like, hey, do you happen to have any more vintage clothing? Sure do. Let me pull out the box, and it was full of vintage Pendleton and some other great pieces. $5 each, sold at full asking price in under a week for $60. Very happy with that one. This guy, even in how this is after we cleaned it, by the way, this hat was dirty. This hat is shown in the Icebreaker yard sale vlog that we did, and we paid $2 for a bunch of different hats. So $2 per unit. This thing was filthy. We soaked it, we scrubbed it, we cleaned it the best that we could, and I had it listed for $100, which I know is absurd. I could not find this hat anywhere. I could find the style, which is called 5 panels. I could find the style, but the fact that it had this, I don't even know if this is an old North Face type of logo, but I couldn't find this anywhere. So I listed up just crazy high at $100. I actually had a $50 offer come in, so of course I took that because I only paid $2 for it. But just a super cool piece. I hope they were able to clean it up a little bit better than I was. Part of that Icebreaker yard sale that we've been talking about. So hoodies and long sleeves, we paid $3 for. So we paid $3 for this. Icebreaker, if you don't know, the main thing with Icebreaker is merino wool. So if you guys aren't familiar with merino wool, go do some research on comps, and you can just get a premium out of this kind of material. So $42.95, that sold at full price. I pulled this out of a Goodwill, and our men's tops are typically $5.99. Once we get into the heavier jackets, then they go to $8.99. So for this guy, I paid $5.99. I almost regret selling this because I love wearing these kind of crew necks, but this was just such a super cool piece, and because I probably wouldn't wear it as much as I would have hoped, I might as well list it up and give it away to someone. Well, not give it away, make money while doing it, but let it go to a new home. So I was able to get full price, $40, and this sold fairly quickly in under a week, which I was very happy about. Last 2 on the agenda. This one, again, Facebook Marketplace. This was actually originally for a pair of Harley boots. Showed up, hey, do you happen to have any more clothing, electronics, or shoes? And she goes, yeah, I have some shoes. So I picked up some Nikes and some other stuff. And she's like, do you happen to do any other categories? I'm like, technically, I'll sell anything. And so she's like, well, I've got a bunch of Dooney and Burke stuff. I'm like, great, let's see that. So she laid out 6 or 7 Dooney and Burke bags. We bought all those. This was $5, believe it or not, is what we got for this guy. It had a little keychain holder, and this was some type of address book or organizer, planner, something. Let me see, there we go. So this was just like a typical little organizer, planner, address book, pages can fit in there, that kind of stuff. It was in pretty rough shape, so got it for $5. Shockingly, I did some research and found that I might be able to get a little bit more out of it than I thought. So I listed up for $55 and took a $40 offer, which was a great flip for us. Last one on this top 25 list for January is going to be Taylor Stitch. So if you guys are not familiar with Taylor Stitch, amazing brand. That is the tag right there. The funny part is, like, it's such a, I don't want to say cheap. It's not a cheap brand by any means. It's a great brand. But when you look at this tag, it's very simple, right? A lot of the fancier, bougie type tags try to have like really intense designs, different things like that. And this is just very simple. But it was a great piece, great shape. Listed that for $60, and I took a $40 offer on that guy. So with that being said, that's the top 25 items that we sold within our eBay account to hit $14,000 in sales in January. We are on a very laser focused path on this eBay account because this account is actually only half of where I want it to be right now. At the time of this recording, we have a revolving 15K sales, and this thing is being pushed to 30K a month. So I'm going to start documenting the actual sales that are happening. One, I like to look back at our old videos and see how far we came along the journey. So it's my own documentation as well. But two, I want to be able to show you guys different brands that we're finding in our stores, different brands that we're picking up and selling, and the price points that we're getting for them, because I was new to clothing like 6 months ago. I've been selling for 9 years, but I was always hard goods, electronics, collector's items. I really didn't start paying attention to men's clothing until about 6 months ago, but I have learned a ton just in my 6 months doing this, and I've learned a ton more getting my hands into the stores and digging through these racks and looking up my own comps. And these types of videos help me out tremendously to see the tags, to see the brands, to see the pricing that people were selling things for. And so hopefully this is my way of giving back and documenting not just our own journey, but the type of products that you guys can keep an eye out for and how much you can get out of them. So if you enjoy this style of content, do me a big favor, comment below. Let me know if we should keep up with this type of video. And also comment below, should we do this type of video once a month to recap the entire month? Or would you guys like to see an end of week shorter video of maybe just the top 10 things that we sold for the week? I'm happy to do either one. I'm going to leave the ball in your court. So do me a favor, comment below. Let me know how often you want me to run this. And we'll keep pumping out some videos for you guys. But aside from that, if you're not subscribed already, be sure to subscribe. If you are into the world of e-commerce, whether very big focus on eBay for us right now, so a lot of eBay videos, but we also sell on Amazon. We also sell on Walmart. So we do have those videos coming as well. Aside from that, thanks for tuning in. It's been Chaz. Peace out, crew, and we'll see you next time.